So Roger, you've never done anything else. You've always been a punter, albeit you don't class yourself as a professional punter. It has paid for a nice life for you. What do you need to be a successful professional punter? And for people watching this who are aspiring to be that, what qualities do they need?
A proper professional punter, Julie, has got to have discipline. And it's always been my Achilles heel. You know, greyhounds, I'll sit myself in a room with anybody when I've done the work, and I'll fare well against most people, you know. But my vice has always been football. I can't watch a game of football and not funk for 6, 7, 8 goals, like, and what have you. I bet silly amount of goals, and literally I've done a fortune on it. Like, the mug element has eaten me alive, and it's almost like a disease. Like, people take drugs and people smoke and drink and what have you. Like, you know, I just couldn't watch a game of football without betting untold goals.
And it's interesting because would you class yourself as a gambling addict?
Ooh, I suppose I'd go over the 50% barrier, if I'm being honest, yeah.
But
you
in
know,
dogs,
I always try to be
in
honest.
dogs it makes you money, so
Dogs-
you sort of wouldn't
dogs
class
now,
that as a gambling addiction, but then you lose it on football, which could potentially be a problem for
The
you.
last 6 to 9 months, I have focused on greyhound racing, and consequently, I've been doing a lot better. You know, I had the odd football bet, but that is what I have now. I'm not like compulsive with it like I used to be, and like it cost me multi thousands, like, you know. But now it's under control as such, and
Do you think it'll stay that way?
I hope so. I hope so, because, like, you know, the format of it is, listen, gambling can be infectious. You know, I know the government send out like warnings and this, that, and the other. And the firms promote responsible gambling and what have you, but, you know, I'm not so sure about that. I think they pick and choose their victims, so to speak. But anyway, that's another thing. In terms of professional dogs, I think the greatest asset you've got if you're a dog video watcher, you've got to have a good angle on the video. Like, I bet a Sheffield, and you are looking at the video straight down the track. You know if a dog turns left, turns right, runs straight, etc., etc. And believe you me, that is more paramount than pace. Without any shadow of a doubt, draws are more paramount than pace. Pace will always look after itself if the dog's drawn right. You know, if you back 10 dogs out of 1 that you make your so-called nap, you back 10 dogs out of 6, you make your so-called nap. You'll do better than betting 2, 3, 4 and 5. Perhaps 3 at some tracks is a good trap, obviously. I mean, you know, but in principle, your strike rate would be much better. And that's because you perceive them as very well drawn. You know, and you know, you get dogs turning left from 5, dogs turning right from 2. And if they run their lanes, these dogs, they go forward, and normally they're early pace types that you make good bets. It's not clever making a nap of a strong runner, really. You know.
You're a sort of larger than life personality. You're
Yeah.
obviously, you like to have a lot of fun in life.
Yeah.
But what about the mental toughness of being a professional gambler? Do you struggle with, for example, when you have losing runs? Does it get you down?
No, I never let it get me down. Honestly,
You have losing runs, right?
Of course I do. Of course I do. I'm absolutely straight-laced about it. Anybody who knows me, I'll get up in the morning and get on with it. You know, I'll do a couple of grand previous night, and the next morning I'm up doing the card when I have to do it, or in the afternoon, whatever. And, like, you know, by the tea time, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow if the circumstances prevail and the prices prevail. But obviously nowadays, with the early prices, like, and I'm not privy to them like I used to be, it's getting harder, because, like, these firms, they just completely and utterly overreact to the first initial bet, and dogs become false. But unfortunately, people follow through because, you know, the ordinary gambler on the street is infectious. If they see a dog's been 3 to 1, it's now 6 to 4, they want to be on it. They want to be on it, whether you want to be on it or not. That's a different kettle of fish. But if you do want to be on it by choice, then you're out the market on the value element. And the one thing I can tell you, Julie, I will say this: when I've done the work on a card, I lock myself in a room, anyone with prices, And I promise you, Fake, I can make a dog a nap, but I'll make it like a 2-to-1 chance. If they want to take evens, let them take it. They won't be getting mine, whether it wins or loses, because I know if your opinion's good, it'll outstay that sort of scenario. I mean, 2-to-1 to evens is 17%. If there's a man alive who wins 17% gambling, you bring them to me, because I promise you, Fabe, there's not one alive. And you have to turn over a lot of money to win a lot of money at 17%, and there's not many people who can do that, if any.
What sort of bets do you have mostly? Is it singles like that?
I don't mind having singles. I'll tell you what I like, I've got to be truthful, is say like I make a dog 4 or 5 to 1, it's 8 or 10 to 1 on Betfair, I'll have more on that than a short one. You know, I'll back it to win 2 or 3 grand. No problem at all, no problem at all. My scenario has always been, if you're right with the big one, get the money. That's always the way. You know, I mean, listen, anyone can have a even monkey, 600 or 4, etc., etc., etc. You won't go forward, Julie. I don't care who you are. But obviously, professional people in gambling are perceived as them sort of prices, and sometimes lower. I mean, you look at Harry Findlay. You know, with respect to Harry, professional odds-on punter in his pomp and what have you. But his greatest asset was he got money out of champions. Tiger Woods, Pete Sampras, you know, all the champions at their sport. He used to centre around the Steve Davis. That was his first calling card, Steve Davis. And the one thing about Harry, whatever people say about Harry, he's lived life to the full purely because of gambling.
Yeah,
you know, and his personality, infectious personality. You know, not everybody would like him, but not everybody would like me. That's how life is. But the fact remains is he's a very infectious person, generous person, and what have you. And yes, he can be outspoken. You know, I know. Just getting off the subject slightly. I mean, I know Coventry broke him in terms of the Greyhound game. You know, I mean, he put his life and soul into that, and it just never panned out like, you know, how he hoped it would. And it really, you know, it took him a while to get over it, you know, because I do speak to Harry on occasions and what have you. But, you know, he's still battle away, still do his bits and bobs and what have you, you know.
You mentioned that football betting is a bit of a weakness for you, and often you can lose what you've punted on dogs in football. What about other areas of your gambling? Is there anything else you'd like to improve?
Well, basically, now I've become like centre based on greyhound racing. I think I do. I think I've channeled my thoughts well enough on that, you know. And you know, I bet on horses on Saturdays. I'll go into the town and bet in Betfred shops and what have you, you know, because I think Betfred's the fairest bookie on the high street. If I'm being honest, like he offers his punters a concession most days and what have you. Whether they choose to take it is another matter, you know. And he offers them for £100 stake, which is a fair amount as well for the man on the street, you know, up to £100 stake. So I'll find him fine, you know, Betfred. I do like dealing with him. You've
mentioned 1 or 2 sort of well-known people in terms of punting already, but was anyone ever a mentor for you, and what did you learn? Or are you self-taught?
Self-taught, definitely. Self-taught. I had no mentors. I mean, I had a fella used to put on for me for 25, 30 years who sadly passed away a couple of years ago by the name of Terry Tribe. I worked for him in his betting shop. He had the most successful independent in the South Coast. He used to trade under the name Harrison's, and he used to bet on flies up a wall, literally, Julie. We used to walk in the shop at 8:30 in the morning, and by 9:30 the whole shop was covered in posters of betting on this, that and the other. He used to bet on local football. He used to lay £1,000 on a football game 25 years ago. Like, you know, this is before like it's become what it is now. You know, I mean, like he'd have Hastings Town against Eastbourne Borough. Like a fellow would come in and have a 1500 a 10 and he'd lay them. I mean, it's a bit of a bet to show someone off the street on a game of football, like local football and what have you. But he was a chairman of a football club himself, so like he had some input there, like, you know. But you know, other people, I mean, untold people like I talk to in the game and what have you, like who I would say were good people, you know. I mean, but I've got to be true, doggy pals in terms of owners. My pals are Alf Ash.
Are they big gamblers, these guys?
Alfie can have a bet, but he's a good player up of his money. He wouldn't leave it behind. Sean Gresham, who, for the benefit of the camera, is a professional bock. I must say, he's a professional bock. I couldn't tip him out of bed, unfortunately, but lovely fella. And his pal Phil Chatfield, who trains at Poole as well. Like he's my pal from. We met him in 2000 in Clonmel, and we never looked back since. So I've got to be truthful. I'm not in touch with him as much as I used to be the last 3 or 4 years. But like we did meet up at the Derby last year. We had a lovely weekend, But I expect we'd do it again this year.